Welcome to our kitchen. Today, we're diving into the world of broths. You think you know broths? You think it's just some watery nonsense you add to the pan and hope for the best? You think it's that easy? Listen up, because I'm about to show you how it's done right. Whether you're a seasoned chef or a home cook, mastering broth is essential. It's the foundation of countless dishes, from soups and stews to risottos and sauces. A good broth can make or break your cooking, and I'm here to make sure you're not serving up some sad, flavorless disaster. Get ready to learn, because I'm about to show you how to make 3 classic broths: chicken, beef, and vegetable. We'll cover everything from selecting the right ingredients to simmering techniques that extract maximum flavor. First up, the cornerstone of any respectable kitchen chicken broth. This isn't just any broth. It's the foundation of countless dishes, the unsung hero that brings depth and richness to your culinary creations. This isn't some afterthought, some watery grave for boiled chicken bones. No, this is where the magic begins. This is about creating a broth with depth, clarity, and a flavor that'll knock your socks off. Imagine a broth so rich and golden it looks like liquid sunshine. We'll start with the whole chicken, because you want to extract every last bit of flavor. Every part of the chicken contributes to the complexity of the broth. Don't even think about using those pre-cut pieces. They just won't cut it for this recipe. We're going in whole hog, bones, skin, the lot. This is where the real flavor comes from. Roast those bones first to really bring out their richness. This step is crucial for developing that deep roasted flavor. Golden brown, you hear me? That's what we're looking for. Next, the vegetables. They add another layer of flavor. Onions, carrots, celery, the holy trinity. These are the backbone of any good broth, roughly chopped, none of that dainty dicing nonsense. We want big, bold flavors. We're not making a salad here. This is serious business. And don't forget the herbs, parsley, thyme, bay leaf. These will infuse the broth with their aromatic goodness. Tie them up in a bouquet garnish so they don't muck up the broth. This makes it easier to remove them later. Now, cover everything with cold water. This is key to extracting all the flavors slowly. Cold, you hear me? Not warm, not hot. Cold water helps to draw out impurities. Cold water draws out impurities and gives you a clearer broth. This is what separates a good broth from a great one. Bring it to a simmer, and I mean a simmer, not a rolling boil. A gentle simmer ensures a clear broth. You boil this broth, you might as well pour it down the drain. Boiling makes it cloudy and bitter. Skim off any scum that rises to the top. This keeps the broth clean and pure. This is important. You want a clean, pure flavor. No one likes a murky broth. Let it simmer for at least 3 hours, or even longer if you have the time. Patience is key here. The longer it simmers, the richer the flavor. This is where the magic happens. Once it's done, strain it through a fine mesh sieve lined with cheesecloth. This ensures a smooth, clear broth. You want a crystal clear broth, not some chunky mess. This is the hallmark of a well-made broth. Season it generously with salt and pepper. This is where you bring out all those flavors. Taste it, adjust the seasoning, and taste it again. This is crucial. You want to make sure it's absolutely perfect. This is crucial. You want to make sure it's absolutely perfect. Don't rush this step. There you have it. A chicken broth that'll make you want to slap your mama. It's that good. Use it for soups, sauces, risottos, or just sip it straight from the mug. It's that good. This broth is versatile and elevates any dish it touches. Now that you've conquered chicken broth, it's time to tackle the king of broths, beef. Beef broth is the foundation of many classic dishes, and mastering it will elevate your cooking to new heights. This is where things get serious, where we separate the culinary amateurs from the true kitchen warriors. Making a great beef broth requires patience, precision, and a bit of culinary intuition. We're using beef bones here, and I mean bones with marrow, the good stuff. The marrow adds a rich, velvety texture to the broth that you just can't get from anything else. Roast them until they're a deep, dark brown. This step is crucial because it caramelizes the bones, bringing out a depth of flavor that forms the backbone of your broth. This is where the real flavor comes from, so don't you dare skip this step. The roasting process is what gives the broth its signature richness and complexity. For the vegetables, we're going with onions, carrots, and celery. These are the classic aromatics that will infuse the broth with a subtle sweetness and depth, and a few tomatoes for sweetness and depth. The tomatoes add a slight acidity that balances the richness of the beef bones. Again, rough chop, no need to be fancy. The vegetables will break down during the long simmering process, releasing their flavors into the broth. We're going for rustic, robust flavor here. The rough chop gives the broth a hearty, homemade feel. And for the herbs, a bouquet garni of parsley. This bundle of herbs will add a fresh, aromatic note to the broth. Thyme, bay leaf, and a couple of sprigs of rosemary. These herbs are essential for adding layers of flavor, and a couple of sprigs of rosemary. Rosemary and beef are a match made in culinary heaven. Rosemary and beef are a match made in culinary heaven. The rosemary adds a piney, aromatic quality that complements the beef perfectly. Cover everything with cold water, bring it to a simmer, and skim off any scum that rises to the top. This ensures a clear, clean broth. This broth needs time to develop its full flavor, so let it simmer for at least 4 hours or even longer if you can. The longer it simmers, the more concentrated and flavorful it becomes. Now here's a chef's secret. Add a tablespoon of tomato paste to the broth during the last hour of simmering. This will give it a richer color and a deeper, more complex flavor. The tomato paste adds a subtle umami note that enhances the overall taste. Once it's done, strain it through a fine mesh sieve lined with cheesecloth. This will remove any impurities and give you a clear, beautiful broth. Season it generously with salt and pepper and taste it. Adjust the seasoning as needed to get the perfect balance. If it's not beefy enough for you, simmer it for another hour or two. The longer it cooks, the more intense the flavor will be. This beef broth is liquid gold. It's rich, flavorful, and incredibly versatile. Use it for French onion soup, beef stew, or any dish that needs a serious flavor boost. The possibilities are endless, or any dish that needs a serious flavor boost. From soups to stews to sauces, this broth will elevate your cooking. It's so good you'll want to bathe in it. Trust me, once you make this beef broth, you'll never go back to store-bought. Now, for those of you who think vegetables are boring, think again. Vegetables can be the star of the show when prepared right. This vegetable broth is packed with flavor and it's so versatile, you can use it in countless dishes. From soups to stews, it adds a depth of flavor that's hard to beat. We're using a mix of vegetables here: onions, carrots, celery, mushrooms, leeks, and more. Each vegetable brings its unique taste and nutrients to the broth, and a few cloves of garlic for that extra punch. Garlic not only adds flavor, but also has numerous health benefits. Roast the vegetables until they're slightly caramelized to bring out their natural sweetness. This step is crucial for adding a rich, deep flavor to your broth. For the herbs, we're going with parsley, which adds a fresh, vibrant note. Thyme, which has a subtle earthiness, and bay leaf, which adds a slightly floral aroma, and a sprig of rosemary. Rosemary works wonders in vegetable broth too, giving it a piney, aromatic flavor. Yes, rosemary works wonders in vegetable broth too. It's one of those herbs that can elevate the entire dish. Cover everything with cold water, bring it to a simmer, and skim off any scum that rises to the top. This ensures a clear, clean broth. Let it simmer for at least an hour, or longer if you have the time. The longer it simmers, the more the flavors meld together. Now here's a trick. Add a Parmesan cheese rind to the broth during the last 30 minutes of simmering. This will give it a savory, umami depth that you won't believe. It's a little secret that makes a big difference. Once it's done, strain it through a fine mesh sieve lined with cheesecloth. This step ensures your broth is smooth and free of any vegetable bits. Season it generously with salt and pepper and taste it. Adjust the seasoning as needed to get it just right. You'll be amazed by how much flavor is packed into this vegetarian broth. It's rich, hearty, and absolutely delicious. Use it for soups, stews, risottos, or any dish that calls for a flavorful liquid. Or even as a base for cooking grains like quinoa or rice. It adds an extra layer of flavor to your grains. It's a game changer, I'm telling you. Once you try this vegetable broth, you'll never go back to store-bought. There you have it, you lot. 3 classic broths mastered. No more excuses for bland, lifeless dishes. You now have the power to elevate your cooking to a whole new level. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more cooking tips and recipes. And remember, if your broth isn't bursting with flavor, you're doing it wrong. Happy cooking!